record this. And let me stop screen sharing and then reshare just so the audio gets shared. As you all know, I usually like to give you links of something that you can watch on your own time, but because I kind of want to give some commentary, I'm just going to be streaming it. So it might turn up choppy on your end, but hopefully if there's something that you want to revisit, you can refer to this slide share and then take a look at that work in real time. All right, can you all see this? It says Video Art is Albuquerque Academy, Video Art 2. Okay, I got a thumbs up from Aaliyah. I'm guessing that's it. All right, so here we go. Let me just take a sip of water. All right, so this is Video Art 2. You know, for your independent project proposal, I think a lot of us are really familiar with the video art that comes from, let's say, Hollywood or from animation studios. And we're really familiar with it because we've grown up with it. You know, we've watched Disney movies, we've watched these blockbuster films in theaters. And usually they have like a script, there's a storyline, there's characters. They last like an hour in length, and there's usually some sort of like plot for it. And that's totally great, and that's totally fine. And if that's something that you're interested in doing, is like thinking of a story, telling a story, basing it around characters, that's something that you can do, and I'd be really excited to lead you through that. But I also wanted to go through this weird and wacky realm of video art, which a lot of us might not be super familiar with because it's just new. So I'm going to be going through 10 different artists and talking about what they are doing with the medium of video art. And some of them are going to be a little weird. So I just promise, I hope that you guys will be open-minded with everything I'm about to share today. You don't have to like everything, but I hope some of it sparks some sort of inspiration. So with each of these artists, I'm going to fill in this blank. Video art is, and then this is this one artist's interpretation of what they think video art is. So here's this first fill in the blank, and that says video art is a medium. Now, when we think of artistic mediums, we usually think of things like drawing or painting or sculpture. But video art, which is like basically any art that revolves around an image that is moving, this is a pretty new concept. And who is considered the godfather of video art is this Korean immigrant artist named Nam June-paik. And he was originally trained as a musician and a composer. And he studied that in Korea, and he actually worked in the music industry. And then he eventually worked his way into video art. And this is kind of like his like biggest, most well-known piece. It's called Fin de siècle. Oh my gosh, I forget. Anyone here speak French? I always forget what this translates to. What does fin de siècle mean? Anyone? It means like end of something, I think turn of the century, possibly. I'll look that up again. But yeah, so here's this piece. It involves sound, but this is the first one without sound, just so you can kind of see what it looks like in the scale of it. So it's a collection of hundreds of CRT, those are these old televisions, and on them are these weird kaleidoscopes of looping images and videos. A lot of them are taken from music videos from the time. I know he was really interested in David Bowie, and he actually like collaborated with him on several things. So yeah, a lot of music videos, just things that he finds, not on the internet, but just like back on the television. And so this is about in like the 1970s, 80s, he's working. And here's this second view of it. This one actually has sound. And again, like he was a musician, so he's interested in the way that video syncs up with sound. And here we go. Get a sense of what this is. So that's a little sneak peek of how like it syncs up with the video. And as you can tell, like the scale of this thing is huge. Here on this next slide, you can kind of see, I'm not going to play the audio, but you can kind of see how they built it. He's no longer living. So this is a piece that they had to recreate recently without his guidance. And they were kind of like following some of his diagrams. And I mentioned like he was interested in music, and he was also interested in composing. And with each of these pieces that he created, like he's got all these different images and footage that are looping on the television, but he doesn't really know like what the end product is going to be. He's kind of playing around with them. And he always said like the piece was done when he felt it was done. So he was kind of messing around with the patterns and the timing of it. And the end result, here's some of his diagrams, and like this is what it looked like trying to like set up all these different TVs on their loops. All right. I don't know if any of you have been to Meow Wolf before, but one of my students in my AP class, when I shared this work, she said that when the last time that she went to Meow Wolf, they had an exhibition that looked really similar to this. I'm sharing you some of these works, and some of them are old. And you might think like, oh, this is so boring, or like, why does this matter to me today? These are like people that influence both Hollywood, animation, and like the art spaces today. So this is kind of like tracing back some of the roots of this stuff. So that's Namjoon Taek, one of the originators of this form. And here's someone new that's working in video art. And for this artist, her name is Yuge Zhou. For her, video art is a collage. And here's a piece, it's called Underground Circuit. I'm gonna play this. And this also has sound, and hopefully you can watch this here. So yeah, this is Yuke Zhou's piece called Underground Circuit. And if you go back to the slideshow, this is how it's originally installed. So it's projected, and you see this video being projected from the ceiling to the floor, and that center part, which had these musicians kind of playing this like meditation rhythm, you would actually be sitting on that in real life. And so I'm going to share a couple other pieces, and you can kind of get a sense by looking at these three different looking pieces that she's got something similar going on with each of them. All right, so this was her piece called Soft Plots. And here you can kind of see that her process is about collage. It's about taking many different videos. These are all taken overhead of some beach and then compositing them together. So we've got this one video over here. We've got these people that are playing volleyball, and that video ends there, but that volleyball appears somewhere else. Or you've got this Frisbee player here tossing a Frisbee there, and then it magically reappears on the other side. And so she's playing with like space and time, and she's like also thinking about the ways people become isolated. And I'm just gonna go over one last one so you can kind of see. This is one of her earlier pieces called Green Play. Again, just taking multiple shots and multiple pieces of footage from the same location, focusing on different people, and then thinking about like what happens when you put all these videos together. Is there something similar that everyone's doing? Does it say something more about this place? And similar to Namjoon Paik, you know, she's putting different pieces of footage together, but in her case, she's doing it all digitally on the computer. With Namjoon, he was doing it all by hand. All right, and so that's our second artist, Yuge Zhou, about video art is a collage. All right, here's this next artist. His name is Jim Campbell. He's one of my favorite artists. And for him, video art is a meditation. And so here's one of his largest pieces. It's called The Journey. And this is actually in the San Diego airport. So if you're ever in San Diego and you step off a plane, you'll see this greeting you. The music is not there. This is what this person that filmed it. So if you know anything about videos and computers, you'll know that every video that we see on a screen is made up of pixels. So the screen that you're looking at here, this is my screen. This is like a 1920 by 1080 pixel grid, which means that there's 1,920 little dots going left and right, 1,080 going up and down. And each of those pixels are projecting a color. Like here, it's just projecting the color black. Here, it's projecting the color white. Jim Campbell is really interested in this idea of pixels, and he's taking these pieces of home footage, this is of someone that he knows swimming, taking that video and then making this like huge pixel grid of it and having it span across, in this case, like hundreds and hundreds of feet. I actually have a video of him. This is a studio visit with Jim Campbell. So let's watch this and kind of see his process and how he creates the work that he does.
So these are pixels, waterproof pixels that we're testing.
I'm Jim Campbell, and I work with light in the field of electronic art. I was an engineer in Silicon Valley for close to 25 years. We made converters from low-resolution TV to high-definition TV. One of the things that I was interested in early on and continue to be is if you take away all of the details of an image, is there anything useful from an experience of looking at something that's low resolution? Is there some sort of essence that can be found in taking an image and getting rid of most of the information and just leaving a little bit there? My day job was high definition TV, and my artwork went the other way.
Is it possible that it has different optical characteristics? I'm sure it does.
A lot of the stuff that I do does start out as an experiment, a perceptual experiment. These are home movies found on eBay from the 1950s. They could be my home movies, they could be pretty much anyone's home movies from the 1950s. There's no projection. Each of these little black circuit boards is a pixel, and they're suspended such that they all merge together to create an image reflected off of the wall. There's this kind of optimal distance where all of the light, as it's coming out in a cone, mixes with the light next to it to create this smooth, soft image. This starts out as about 2 million pixels, and there's only 500 left. I'm kind of limited in what kind of imagery I can use for these low-resolution works. It needs to be very simple and have a simple background. Like Jane's pool, for example. You know, we shot that from above. The bottom of the pool, being the background, very simple. I had the kids wear black for that so that they would silhouette. So this is the software that I use to convert an image from high res to low res. It's software that I wrote so I can adjust how many pixels I'm capturing, filter it any way that I want. That's my favorite mosaic. It's a Chagall mosaic. It's incredible. That's another old Roman mosaic, and that's that same mosaic filter. Isn't that kind of amazing? So that's what it looks like from far away. So about 2 years ago, I went to Rome with a friend, and kind of the goal of that trip was to look at the original pixels, because if you look at mosaics, they have a lot in common with what we think about as a picture element, which is what pixel stands for. I learned a lot from photographing in detail ancient mosaics. They actually resolve quite astonishingly by looking at them from far away. They go from being a cartoon to actually being a person. You could say, oh, I know that person, kind of thing, and it's kind of shocking. The largest project that I've done to date is at San Diego Airport. It's 750-foot long sculpture. It's 37,000 individually suspended glass spheres. Because it's above your head, I can't put kind of an image that you're used to looking at, you know, with a bottom and a top, because then sometimes when you're looking at it, it would be upside down. I ended up choosing swimmers, almost like a swimming lane in a pool, though I specifically worked with swimmers who were not professionals. I think a lot of my work incorporates some sort of struggle in terms of the way people are moving. I grew up in a lower middle class, distant suburb, almost the country, near Chicago. I never met an artist. I never knew there was art school at that point. I think what surprised me the most is that I was able to become a successful artist, depending on your definition of successful.
All right, so that's a peek into Jim Campbell's work. Let me just make sure that no one, okay, there we go. Into Jim Campbell's work. I was really lucky to be able to see one of his pieces in person. This is the piece called Tilted Plane. Much like the other ones, again, he's taking this one video and he's like basically projecting it onto hundreds and hundreds of light bulbs. And this one you can actually walk between the light bulbs. And it's a flock of birds that you will see flying. And it's really, really thought-provoking and meditative and beautiful. All right, so Jim Campbell's working with abstraction, and then I have another artist who's also working with abstraction, although he's taking a much different approach. This next person is named Corey Archangel, and so to preface, when we're thinking about the word abstraction, it means you're taking something that someone is familiar with, for example, a banana, and then you're showing them the color yellow, and you're saying like, this is a banana. It is not actually a banana, but it is something that relates to that. And it's like getting the brain to jog its memory and make a connection as to what it is. Jim Campbell's doing that with his videos, and this next artist, Corey Archangel, is doing something different. So let's take a look at his piece. Yeah, this is the work. You might be thinking like, what the heck is this? What am I looking at? Like, why is this considered art? Corey Archangel is kind of like, he's a troll. He's the troll of the art world. He's actually great. But yeah, so what you're looking at, the title here, it says Super Mario Clouds. And I know some of you have probably played this game before and probably had an immediate connection and thought like, oh yeah, I recognize these clouds. I know this is from the original NES Mario. And that's what it is. So you might be thinking like, what went into this? It seems like the simplest thing. And so the work isn't necessarily the video component that he's created. The work is the cartridge. And so here it is, there's that Nintendo Entertainment System cartridge. And so what he did actually was take this original Super Mario Brothers game and he hacked it. So he hacked it to remove everything from the game but these clouds. So there's no Mario, there's no enemies, there's no levels, there's no physics or anything. If you take that cartridge and you plugged it into any Nintendo Entertainment System, this is the only thing that would play, is just this background screen of clouds on loop. And so this is him kind of poking fun at the art world, but also thinking like this is something that is so embedded in some of our memories, and it kind of like brings out this like really strong reaction to some of us, especially if you have like grown up with it. And that's what he's more focused on. And so yeah, this is Super Mario Clouds by Corey Archangel. All right, so this next, sorry, I know I'm like going through a lot of different things. Again, just try and like take notes of the ones that really spark interest. Their names are down below. And here is our next video art, is an interaction. And so anytime we're working with video art, because it's moving, like it's kind of asking us to do something. It's getting a reaction out of this. Think of like anytime you're watching a movie and the times when you laugh, the times when you shudder, the times when you cry. That's something that video art does really, really well. That is kind of hard to get out of a sculpture or get out of a painting. And this artist, Lynn Hirschman Leeson, this is an older piece from like the late 1980s. She's leaning into this interactivity of video art, and she's created like the first interactive DVD game, and it's called Lorna. And so this is what it looks like when you would see it like in a museum. For example, it looks like a living room of this woman named Lorna who lives here. And there's a chair, and you sit in the chair, and you take a remote control, and let's see if we can get some footage here. Yeah, here we go. All right, I'm gonna, same thing with Jim. Here's a little background info on what Lynn Hirschman Leeson is interested in.
I think that we've become kind of a society of screens, of different layers that keep us from knowing the truth, as if the truth is almost unbearable and too much for us to deal with, just like our feelings. So we deal with things through replication and through copying, through screens, through simulation, through facsimiles, and through fiction and through faction.
I think that there is not a central answer to whether technology is utopian or dystopian. I think it depends on humans and how they use it. A lot of my work is interactive in that it implicates viewers into making choices. Interactivity in these pieces meant dealing with the possibilities in technology that existed at the time. So when Lorna was made, I used an interactive laserdisc.
I was afraid of everything. So you think you know her story? Well, good luck, 'cause you're all wrong.
Lorna's agoraphobic. She's afraid to go out. The reason she's afraid is because media projects all kinds of images of fear, and all she does is watch television. And you control what you see, and in doing so, you become implicated in Lorna's life and control her future.
All right, so there's a little look into this work by Lynn Hirschman Leeson. Again, it's an interactive piece. I don't know if any of you have ever seen, there's a show Black Mirror, and then I think Black Mirror created that like interactive Netflix thing. Yeah, some of you are nodding. Yeah, that's the same concept. And she's like the first person to like create a film that you have control over the ending. If you've ever read like a Goosebumps, like Choose Your Own Adventure book, like this is also a similar concept where you are this woman, Lorna, you're literally sitting in her chair in her living room, and you have control over her life decisions. And there's 3 endings to this film, and it's up to you to decide where she goes. And then when you're done, you get this little message that tells you that this is the first time you've ever, that I don't know, anyone's ever done this. Anyway, so yeah, there's that interactivity with Lynn Hirschman Leeson, sorry. And now we're skipping to the present, and we've got someone, his name is Ian Cheng, and he is trying to create video art that are its own living things. So he's really interested in game design, and he's also really interested in Miyazaki films, and specifically the art style around that. And he's also a coder. And so what he created is this series of works called Emissaries. And I'm going to play it first before explaining what it is that's happening. All right, and here we go. I'm not going to play all of it, but I'll skip around. Skip ahead. Go further ahead. Actually, let's get to, I think there's a night scene somewhere. All right, so again, some of this stuff is a bit weird, but this is this is Ian Cheng's work. What you're looking at is a simulation of a video game, And so he's created all these different characters that exist in this video game that he created called, or that he's envisioning, called Emissaries. And rather than it being a game that you play yourself, it's a game that it plays itself. All of these characters, these NPCs, they all have their own different wants, their own desires, their own things that they're trying to do. And he's trying to create like an ecosystem. Like if you can imagine, you put a bunch of fish and plants and frogs in a tank, you know, what would that tank look like in 100 years? What would it look like in 1,000 years? And so it's a game that is constantly growing, where each of these characters is kind of just doing their own thing, picking fights with one another, helping one another. And the result is kind of weird, and it's always changing. And here's some of the art. His work is basically about character creation. So he's creating all these different characters in this fictional video game that doesn't actually exist, but he puts them all together and sees what kind of chaos comes out of it. Similar to Ian Cheng's work with video games and 3D modeling, this next artist is named Jaron Braxton. He's very young. He's younger than me, but he's one of the first, I guess, animators of Gen Z to really make it big. And for him, video art is a reflection. And so Jaron Braxton is using this software called Blender. It's a free open source, meaning that anyone can download it, animation program, and he's completely self-taught. And he has a very, very unique visual style. We're gonna watch this whole film. It's called You Can, and I'll talk a little bit about what is happening.
I'm so confused.
Now, look. Now, what happened?
All right, and so that's Jaron Braxton's "You Can." He also did all the music for that as well, in case you were curious. So again, yeah, he's using this like very new free animation software called Blender. And this is one of his earlier animations where he's basically looking at the history of the civil rights movement. So this period in the 1960s in America was a period of a lot of change, social and racial justice. And so he's looking through all these different events, and you know, I told you he's young. He's like kind of looking at it through the lens of the internet. You know, what would it look like if this was taking place today? What would the conversation be? And how do you depict something that you were not alive to see through the lens of 3D animation? And some of the stills, you can take a look here. All right, this next video is, it's a lot. Video art is an absurdity to this person named Micah Rottenberg. Micah Rottenberg, she, how do I describe this? You guys know all about ASMR? Yeah? Okay, she's taking ASMR and putting it through the garbage disposal is how I'm going to describe it. So we're going to take a look at this. A lot of her films, they're a lot about different textures, different sounds, and also like man-made things. So she's looking at things like plastics and marshmallows and instant noodles, and it's just kind of messing around with them. And here we go. I'm not going to play all of it because it's a 20-minute video and it's kind of a lot, but I will play like a few minutes just to give you the idea of what Miss Rottenberg is about. Why are you not working? Here we go. All right. And let's go to 2:30. Here we go. And a lot of her films, they like take place in a fictional factory where she kind of makes up this place that all these weird things come from. I'm just gonna play it. All right, and I'm gonna pause it there. So yeah, she's doing a lot. She's doing a whole lot. And as I mentioned, a lot of these things are these like man-made objects that you kind of have like no idea where they come from or how they're even made. I don't know if any of you know about this thing called Nair, but if you could see there used to be this old infomercial where people who were balding could just spray on this like spray hair. And so she's using that too. So yeah, for her, video art is absurd, but these are also real things that we interact with every day, and she's kind of highlighting the absurdity of our world. That's Micah, yeah. All right, this next person is Sarah Friedland, and she's actually the person that's going to be coming in to our class next Monday. And she's got several films. This is the first film that I got to know of hers, and it's called Home Exercises. And so for her, video art is a choreography. She's a dancer, and she's really interested in the way people move about the world. And so, again, we're not gonna watch all of it, but we'll watch some of it, and we'll get to know her even better come Monday. All right. So that's a little sneak peek into Sarah's work. So this was her film called Home Exercises, where she basically follows and got to know several old people. I think this is somewhere in Connecticut or upstate New York, and just asked to like follow them in their daily routine. And if that film felt agonizingly slow for you, just remember that this is how some people move about the world. And if we all live so long, that's probably how we're going to move about the world. And so she's asking you, the viewer, to see what moving around the world is like for them. We'll take a look at her other works. This is a film called Drills, which I think she will be sharing with us on Monday. So I'll talk a little bit more about that later. And so this is the 10th artist that I wanted to share in the realm of video art. And this is the artist named Sophie Cal. She's a photographer, she's a writer, and this is a video piece that she's really well known for. It's called Voir la mer, which in French means see the sea. And so for her, video art is a moment. Now, there's many videos in the series, but we're just gonna watch the first one. And I'm gonna skip ahead to like here so we don't have to watch the full 4. All right, and so that's one film in the series of films called Voir la mer. Sophie Cal was working with a group of people in Turkey, and these people had never seen the ocean before. And so after getting to know these people, she brought each of these people who had never, seen the ocean and the horizon before to the ocean, asked them to look at the ocean for as long as they wanted, as long as their eyes were pleased, and then turn around and then face the camera. And Sophie is interested in seeing what the reaction is to people who've never seen this much of anything, this much of water, this much of the earth. And some of the reactions that you get to see out of these people are pretty amazing. And especially also like taking a look at their eyes after like focusing on like the blue of the ocean. It's amazing like the way our faces and our eyes change color based off of the things that we see. And that's it. That's all I wanted to share today. I know I kind of sped through some of it, and I'm sure there's other ones that hopefully you were interested in learning more about. But for each of these artists, in the comments, this is down below, so the notes down beneath each of them, You can find some more of their work, and you can also find some interviews or some write-ups with things that, sorry, what am I going to say? With some more information on like what they do and why they work in video art. I'm going to pause the recording now, so that's